Who are the Jews? Well, according to the Bible, an ancient Israelite text, they are an ancient people descended from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He was named Israel around 4,000 years ago. They are God's chosen people, the apple of his eye. Now, when I mention the word Jew, the first people that will come into your mind will be the modern day Jewish man you'll see today that currently occupy the region of Israel. With their long hair, untrimmed beards and fringes that appear at the borders of their garments. It's pretty clear to see that they carry similar customs and ideals as the ancient Jews of Egypt. But are they the real Jews of the Bible? Are they the real lost sheep of the house of Israel, scattered across nations? Do they come from the seed line of Jacob? Do they have the blood of Christ flowing within their veins? Or are they converts, fakes?
Have a huge community in Africa that they know in tradition that they are Hebrews, that they are from child of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. They know it for sure. They have the Bible and it's all written over there, and they don't have no problems in life, except of that we're not able to accept them, to recognize the godliness of the holy tribes that is treasured inside them, their souls.
The true Jews of Israel are your black ancestors.
The real Jews are the black people. If you read about the 12 tribes of Israel, the scripture makes it clear that Benjamin was a black man. Moses was a black man.
Yes, so the Jews, just to be very clear, the Hebrew Israelites or the Jews happen to be us, black people. That is what we Hebrew Israelites or the Jews happen to be us, black people. That is what we are. But the people who orchestrated this book, came up with it, and who make the world believe that they are the chosen people happen to be Ashkenazi, Khazarian, Caucasian, Jewish people. These are white people who use the name of Judaism to shield their evil. So not all of them, but there's very specific few who run the world. These happen to be the international bankers, the ones who run the music industry, the ones who run the film industry, Hollywood, etc., etc., etc. So it's not Judaism. It is wicked individuals using the name of Judaism or calling themselves Jews, which happens to be us, to shield their wicked practices.
And recently, there have been many cases of so-called African American athletes, musicians, comedians, and other public figures coming out boldly claiming that they are the real Jews. And each time they do, they get cancelled.
Yet another controversy for Kanye West, also known as Ye. He's been locked out of his Twitter account now, the platform suspending him after an anti-Semitic tweet. That tweet said, quote, "When I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people." His tweet continued saying, quote, "The funny thing is I actually can't be anti-Semitic because black people are actually Jew."
Because the same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black and the vernacular that we're supposed to have.
We turn now to Nick Cannon, sitting down for his first TV interview since widespread condemnation over his anti-Semitic comments. Here's ABC's Lindsay Davis.
Today, there has been a flood of anti-Semitic activity in recent weeks. Top NBA superstar Kyrie Irving suspended for posting a link to an anti-Semitic film. The FBI has warned of threats against Jewish synagogues in New Jersey.
And it's a title given to Christ, Philippians 2:11. And my name translates in the Hebrew language as Yahweh. So I went on to Amazon Prime. I was like, you know what, let me see if there are any documentaries on Yahweh. So went in the search bar, typed in Yahweh, that came up. Went out and shared it on my platform. That was my night. In terms of the backlash, or what people call it, we're in 2022. History is not supposed to be hidden from anybody.
Now let me ask you a question. Prior to the transatlantic slave trade in the 1600s, what exactly was the Negroes person's nationality? What did you call yourself? The more common answer will be African. Well, the Africans are part of a continent which is concentralized of many different countries. So I'll ask you again to the Black Americans. What exact country do you come from? What language do you speak? What language did you speak prior to the 1600s? Was it English? There's over 15 dialects spoken in Africa. Now which one is yours? What clothing did you wear? What food did you eat? What religion did you partake in? And who was your God? Was it Christianity and Caesar Borgia? Well, most of you have no idea about the answer to these questions. You have no recollection of your history prior to the transatlantic slave trade. Now, is this a coincidence? A random turn of events? No, I don't think so. Have you ever asked yourself, why is it that in public school systems, every time the topic of Black history is taught, it always begins in the 1600s and with slavery? Why is that? Why is it that the public school system is so committed to resolving Black history only on the past 400 years? Why is that? Is it because they lost the historical data? Like how they said that they destroyed the technology that helped us get to the moon? Or is it because there's no history at all prior to the 1600s? Maybe Black people just came out of nowhere simultaneously and just landed on slave ships, being imported and exported into all four corners of the earth. The main question always comes to light. What is the hindrance and drawback on this history? Well, what you're going to come to realize is that your identity is the biggest kept secret on earth. The elite Confederate have spent billions of dollars and have constructed an immeasurable amount of psychological stratagem to ensure you never receive and inquire this level of information that is about to be put out. You are about to receive information from the most reputable biblical scholars, and all of them know something that you don't, and that is your identity. Welcome to Truth Disclosed, as we uncover the truth about the hidden identity of the so-called Negro, the real Jews of the Bible.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Enough of this. Vader, release him.
Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of the 8 persons to live throughout the flood. He became the progenitor, father of the dark races, not the Negroes, but Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. However, the churches and the pastors, which are all set up by the government, all teach a doctrine that states all black people come from the seed of Ham. But once you open up scholastic sources, you will find out that the biblical scholars say something totally different from what is being taught in Orthodox Christianity. Because what exactly do they mean when they say that Ham is the father of all dark races except the Negroes? Aren't the Negroes themselves a dark race of people? So how can you say that Ham is the father of all dark races except the Negroes? What are the biblical scholars trying to convey? Well, what the biblical scholars are trying to say is that you are not African. There's only 4 families according to the Bible that make up the native population of Africa, or the land of Ham: Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. And the biblical scholars know that you do not descend from any of them. In order to write that in a scholastic and academic book, the biblical scholars have done extensive research. And after this extensive research, they have come to the conclusion that the Negroes and native Africans are not the same people. In the 1840s, Morton collaborated with George R. Glyden, an Egyptologist, who provided him with mummy heads and information about the racial significance of Egyptian tomb inscriptions. In Crania Egyptica, published in 1944, Morton pointed out that both the cranial and archaeological evidence showed that the Egyptians were not Negroes. In the 1840s, Dr. Morton was trying to find out the racial origin of the so-called Negroes that were in slavery in America. So he got together with the Egyptologists, supplied with them the mummy heads, and what he did was conduct extensive research on the cranial remains of the heads in Egypt, in contrast with the cranial remains with the heads of the Negroes in America. And what he found out was that the Negroes in America were not Africans. The Negroes in America were not Africans. The skulls were of different origin. The Negro's head was longer than the Egyptian's head. The physical characteristics from the outside were similar, the thick lips and the broad nose, but once you dive deeper into the real characteristics of each, they found out that they were not the same people. Colonizationists had maintained, and that in fact, blacks had been relegated to the same servile position in ancient Egypt as in modern America. So what Dr. Morton did discover is that the Negroes that were served in slavery in America also suffered the same slavery in Egypt thousands of years ago. So what are the scholars trying to say? What you're going to find out is that they are saying that you are the biblical Israelites, the 12 lost tribes scattered among the world. Yes, the same exact people that served as slaves in ancient Egypt, the same exact people that God sent to redeem under the hand of Pharaoh. The same exact people. And when you read the Bible, you will come to find out that slavery is a common theme in the Bible. Slavery is a real common theme for Israelites, the real Jews. The Israelites cannot run away and get away from serving as slaves to other nations of people. And it has continued to happen over and over again, up until today. You come out of Egypt as slaves, come down onto the land of Israel, and as soon as you get there, you had the Assyrians come, capture the land of Israel, and take you and make you slaves. In the 9th year of Hosea, the king of Assyria took Samaria and carried Israel away into Assyria. You come out of the land of Assyria, back to the land of Israel, then the Babylonians came, which are the modern day Ethiopians, the Cushites, came onto the land of Israel and made you slaves. So all Israel were reckoned by the genealogies, and behold, they were written in the book of Kings of Israel and Judah, who were carried away to Babylon for their transgressions. You came out of the Babylonian captivity, went back to the land of Israel, then the Persians came, took the Israelites, and made you slaves. For we were bondmen, yet our God had not forsaken us in our bondage, but have extended mercy unto us in the sight of the kings of Persia. You came out of the Persian captivity, went back into the land of Israel, rebuilt the temple up, then the Greeks came down there, took you and made you slaves, and to entreat them that they would take the yoke from them, for they saw that the kingdom of the Grecians did oppress Israel with servitude. After you came out from the Greek captivity, you went back to the land of Israel, rebuilt the temple, because the Greeks will sacrifice swine, pigs at the altars, all things that are ungodly unto you. And as soon as you came back to the land of Israel, then the Romans came and reigned over you at the time of Christ as slaves. Slavery grieved you so much that Jeremiah, a prophet who was an Israelite from the tribe of Benjamin, asked, "Is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? Why is he spoiled?" So you may be asking yourself, if the so-called Negro is part of the 12 tribes of Israel, then how did you get to the west coast of Africa? And when you shall see Jerusalem with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is high. Now this is Christ speaking to the Israelites. He says, when you see Jerusalem filled with the Roman armies, then know that the desolation or the destruction of the land of Israel is near. Then let them which are in Judah flee to the land of the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out. And Christ said, when you see the Romans coming in, you need to flee into the mountains. And what you will come to realize is that the mountains Christ was talking about was the land of Africa. The same place Mary and Joseph took Jesus when they were fleeing from Herod, when he was trying to come and find Jesus to kill him when he was a baby. They went right into Africa, and the Israelites went into Africa also, fleeing from Roman persecution. In the year 65 BC, the Roman army under the General Pompey captured Jerusalem. In 70 AD, General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state with great slaughter. During the period from Pompey to Julius, it has been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa, fleeing from Roman persecution and slavery. The slave markets were full of black Jewish slaves. Over 1 million of you Israelites fled from the land of Israel into the land of Africa, running away from the Romans because the Romans were coming to put slaughter onto the Israelites. The ones that did not hearken unto Christ's prophecy when he instructed them to leave and flee to the mountains, to Africa, they were caught by the Romans, taken back to Europe and sold as slaves for servitude. Some even becoming gladiators, put in lions den, forced to fight for thine entertainment. The pagans and the Romans attacked Jews indiscriminately. Both Jewish soldiers and the uninvolved, peaceful population without mercy. As a result of this merciless attack, many Jews fled to those parts of northwest Africa known as Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, and Mauritius. Many other Jews fled to areas where Rome did not have any jurisdiction. This was the region of the South Sahara Desert and Sudan. Grazel says, such is the explanation of how the Sahara Desert first acquired Jewish tribes, toughened by a fighting tradition and possessed of physical characteristics, blacks, which it is said still make them approximate very closely the original Jewish population of Palestine. And after migrating from Israel and dwelling on the northwest parts of Africa, after you were fighting vigorously with the Romans, you had no choice but to start migrating to the southern regions of Africa where the Romans did not have any jurisdiction. because the Romans were relentless and they were adamant on putting all Israelites to death. So to regain any type of peace, the Israelites had to start migrating to sub-Saharan parts of Africa. The scholars know this. The biblical scholars know this for a fact. They know all the history because history has never actually been lost, but instead hidden from the vast multitude. Whatever may be thought of the more or less mythological traditions connected with the earliest Jews in North Africa, it is said now practically an established fact that a Jewish nation, Jewish at least in faith and perhaps to in origin, long held sway south of the Sahara. In later centuries, Jews are believed to have settled in Western Africa during the height of the Shanghai, Mali, Ghana and Kenem-Bornu empires. According to accounts from explorers of the region, several powerful Jewish families of the Songhai Empire were of Jewish origin. Some accounts place West African Jewish communities in the Ondu forest of Dahomey, south of Timbuktu, in the 1930s. The Greeks still maintained a Torah scroll written in Aramaic that had been burned into parchment with hot iron instead of ink, so it could not be changed. In the 1930s, the historians went over to the West Africa, still found Israelites over there who hadn't been captured by the slave trade, still practicing the Hebraic faith, still knowing who they are, with a Torah which is the first 5 books of Moses, written in Aramaic, the ancient language. And it's a shame that they had to burn it in hot iron so that the European colonists don't tamper with it and further hide the evidence of the history. It says a lot. The black Jews had an advantage over the African tribes. They carried their culture, history, laws, and written records with them. The Jews made use of every opportunity. They were an industrious and skilled people. In the Jewish Ghanaian states were found kings, princes, governors, generals, secretaries, treasurers, revenue agents, judges, architects, engineers, doctors, historians, language interpreters, mathematicians, jewelers, sculptors, masons, carpenters, painters of art, of goldsmith, leather workers, potters, saddlers, blacksmiths, agriculturalists, etc. So no, you weren't a bunch of Negroes running around the west coast of Africa, butt naked swinging on trees. This is a lie. A lie that has been conditioned and programmed into our minds by the so-called Europeans. The decline of the Jewish communities of the West Africa, Maghreb, most likely began with the influx of the Arab invaders into North Africa, starting in 640 CE and later into Africa in the 1300s. So after you had established communities and empires on the west coast of Africa, after the 7th century, that's when Muhammad and his band of followers came onto the west coast with the Quran in one hand and the sword in the other, forcibly converting the Israelites into converting to Islam, leading you astray from your heritage. And thus began the decline of the Hebraic faith in the communities in the west coast of Africa, subsequently after the slave trade followed. Ye, and what have you to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, on all the coast of Palestine? Tyre and Zidon and the coast of Palestine are all ancient Africans that God is referring to. Will ye render me a recompense? And if ye recompense me, swiftly and speedily will I return your recompense upon your head. because you have taken my silver and gold and have carried into your temple my godly pleasant things. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have you sold unto the Grecians. See, the Bible is not a religious book per se, but instead a historical account of God's chosen people who are the Israelites and their lineage. Both buyers, Europeans, and sellers, Africans, saw the people traded into captivity on the African coast as outsiders. Now, why did those Africans see you as outsiders? Because you were not the same people. Because you were the people that migrated and encroached on their land. They knew you weren't the same. The customs that you had, the traditions, they knew you were not the exact same people. So they had no problem commencing with a slave trade with the Europeans. They will get what they want, and so will the Europeans. This whole time, they had us believing that the Africans sold their own people. That makes no sense at all. When the Europeans put that in their textbooks, they are using technicalities. Saying Africans sold other Africans is a technicality. What they mean to say is that native Africans sold the Israelites who were living in Africa. It'd be no different than saying Americans sold Americans into slavery, when in reality, what you will mean to say is that European Americans sold Black Americans into slavery. Using that logic, that is how it will sound, even though that is not exactly what happened. You see how they can get you without actually telling a lie, but instead being vague. There are both oral and written explanations that trace the origin of the Igbo, and the most tantalizing is the association of the Igbo to the Hebrew race. The assumption is based on the fact that the Igbo culture has many similar traditions and customs like that of the Jews. Similar customs are observed in marriage, negotiations, childbirth, and circumcision. Restitution attitude to totem animals and taboos, as well as hospitality to others, especially to strangers, etc. The Igbo are therefore said to be the split and the lost group of the tribe of Israel that refused to wander further northeast with Moses, but preferred going down southward. The Igbo people have many Jewish traditions. Nayon Katz, the current Israeli ambassador in Nigeria, and others point to their possible ancient Israelite origins. See, the scholars have done their research on certain peoples, such as the Igbo and Kan tribes of Ghana, and the Bantu people, and they've compared the traditions of these tribes and they've matched them up with the Israelites, and they've realized that the customs are strikingly similar. They said only the way that these people could be practicing the Hebraic faith this close is if they were the biblical Israelites themselves. So you may be wondering to yourself, what is the significance of the Igbo tribe to the so-called Negroes in America? Now when you do your research, what you'll come to find out is that the Igbo tribe were one of the main sought-after tribes that were captured and sold in America, along with the Akan people of Ghana, to the Caribbeans during the transatlantic slave trade. The British were the main major buyers before they banned their own slave trade traffic in the 1800s. They were replaced by the Portuguese and Spanish for as long as the traffic continued there. The majority of the captives were speakers of the Igbo dialects.
You can hear me clearly, Rabbi. Let us have your name once more.
My name is Rabbi Yehuda ben Shomer.
Okay. Well, is it okay if we just call you Yehuda?
Yeah, that's fine.
Today?
Okay, yeah, that's fine. No problem at all. I'll go on even further to say this, that the slave trade is actually connected to Deuteronomy 28, because the majority of the slaves that were brought to the Caribbean islands and brought to the Americas were Hebrew people, were people of Hebrew and Hebraic Israelite descent, if you will. And so if you read Deuteronomy chapter 28, it matches perfectly what happened to the Hebrew slaves, the black Hebrew slaves, during the slave trade. It just matches it perfectly.
Back up now. I think we just rung a bell here. Hold up now.
Okay.
Hold up. Hold the presses.
Okay.
Hold up. I hope everyone is listening to this. This is you about to rock some boats now. Ben Yehuda there. Hold up now. Listen to what he's saying here. So you are saying that there's a great chance, or more so, that the black people that links directly to the slave trade are from the lost tribes of Israel. Is that what you're saying here, sir?
Yes, I am. Now, granted, I will qualify that I don't. Wait a second. I don't believe that every single black person is Hebraic or Jewish, but I'm saying that the majority of the slaves involved in the slave trade were Hebrew.
These people knew exactly who they were buying and selling, both the African Canaanites and the Europeans. The Europeans, who were actually just the Romans, after 70 AD, went conquering and hid themselves under different nationalities after they conquered native peoples that were in the lands of Europe. Hid themselves under the French, under the British, under the Portuguese. The same exact Romans. And all they are doing is continuing their agenda that was put in place in 70 AD when they came down looking for the Israelites. The same exact agenda carried on to this day. It's the same exact agenda. They know exactly who they are, and they know exactly who they were aiming for. And it's not by coincidence that all this history matches up perfectly with the Bible prophecy. It is not a coincidence, and instead of teaching this truth, they instead push a doctrine of it doesn't matter anymore. See? Now you see why they don't put any of this in black history. Now you see why they don't go prior to the 1600s. A so-called African American or Jamaican decides to do a DNA test, for example, or decides to do some digging prior to the 1600s, and you will come to find out that you originate from the Igbo tribe of Nigeria or the Akan tribe of Ghana. Then you decide to do some further research and find out that your people don't even originate from there, but instead migrated there from the land of Israel thousands of years ago. Then you do even further digging and find out that you are part of the 12 lost tribes that descends from Abraham, Isaac and Jacob, which leads you to finally finding out that you are the biblical Israelites of the Bible, God's chosen people, the real Jews. This is the exact reason why they don't want you to go back prior to the 1600s. You are not supposed to find out this information. Instead, you are meant to call yourself African American, Cuban, Mexican, Puerto Rican, Jamaican, Bayesian, Trinidadian, and so forth. All false identities, not knowing who you are, but it's all by design. Now to the most important question. If you happen to be the people of God, the chosen people of God, why is it that He continues to allow you to go into slavery again and again? Always held captive in strange lands, always building up different other people's civilizations, always going through rough times in this modern day era. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt show the people all these words, And they shall say unto thee, Wherefore hath the Lord pronounced all this great evil against us? Or what is it our iniquity? Or what is our sin that we have committed against the Lord our God? That thou shalt say unto them, Because your fathers have forsaken me, saith the Lord, and have walked after other gods, and have served them, and have worshipped them, and have forsaken me, and have not kept my law. What you have to realize is that when Moses brought you out of the land of Egypt, and you entered into the wilderness, you entered into a new covenant with the Most High God, the creator of everything you see in heaven and earth. You entered an agreement with the creator, and he kept his end of the bargain, but you never kept yours. And he took the book of the covenant and read in an audience of people and said, All that the Lord hath said we will do and be obedient. And Moses took the blood and sprinkled it unto the people, and said, Behold the blood of the covenant which the Lord hath made with you concerning all these words. And once Moses sprinkled the blood on you, there was no way out of it. You entered into the covenant. And it came to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. And all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God. You see, if you kept your end of the bargain, the Most High would have set you above all nations across the face of earth. The same spot the Europeans have right now would be yours. That was supposed to be your spot if you kept the laws, statutes, and commandments. And it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all of his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Thy sons and thy daughters will be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fall with longing for them all the day long. There shall be no might in thine hands. Thou shalt begat sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. They shall be upon thee for a sign, and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever, because thou servest not the Lord thy God with all joyfulness, and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck, until he have destroyed thee. The Most High says, you have the yokes of iron on your neck until he has destroyed you. So that means when he takes the yokes of iron off your necks, you will be destroyed. Now, when did that happen? 1863, when Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. The yokes of iron came off, but by that time, your history had been wiped out of you.
The master gives you something, you take it. He gave you a name. It's a nice name. It's Toby. And it's going to be yours till the day you die. Now, I know you understand me, and I want to hear it. Again! I want to hear you say your name. Your name is Toby. What's your name?
Kunta.
Lord God help that boy. They're gonna put him dead.
What's your name? Say it! Toby!
You want to know why there's black on black crime? Because you didn't keep your part of the covenant. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eyes shall be evil towards his brother. You wonder why black men always leave their children? Because you didn't keep your part of the covenant. His eyes shall be evil towards his brother, and towards his brother, and towards the wife of his bosom, and towards the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. Also every sickness and in every plague which is not written in the book of this law, them will the Lord bring upon thee until thou be destroyed. Why are blacks and Latinos number 1 in HIV? Because you didn't keep your part of the covenant. Why are you number 1 in hypertension and blood pressure? Because you didn't keep your part of the covenant. Why are you number 1 in cardiovascular diseases? Because you didn't keep your part of the covenant. Why are you number 1 in diabetes? Because you didn't keep your part of the covenant. Why are you number 1 in all these negative effects across the board? Because you didn't keep your part of the covenant. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor their fathers have known, even wood and stone. Among these nations thou shalt not find ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot rest. But the Lord shall give there a trembling heart, and falling of eyes, and sorrow of mind, and thy life shall be in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, not have no assurance of thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, would God it were even? And at the evening thou shalt say, would God it were morning? For fear of thine heart wherewithin thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou see. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again. The word Egypt in the Bible means bondage or slavery. I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. So when God says he's going to bring you into Egypt again, he is saying, I'm going to bring you into slavery again. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. This time you'll be brought back into captivity with ships. By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. And God says, no man shall buy you. Back in the biblical days, you would be able to buy or redeem slaves by payment. But God says no man will be able to redeem you out of this slavery. Nobody. And why? Because you are still breaking the covenant. If you are the real Israelites, then who are the people there in the land of Israel claiming to be you? Those are Romans, Europeans, who originate from the Caucasus Mountains and hid themselves under the name of Khazars. Between the 8th and 9th century, the Khazarian Empire and their king Bulan adopted the traditions of the Israelites and mixed it with paganism and called it Judaism. Then after the Holocaust, which was politically motivated, the elite used that pretext as a way to move into the land of Israel and took these Khazarian converts to place them in the land in 1948.
Was born in a bath of blood. Jewish troops routed Arab forces from the city of Haifa in the first of a series of battles that were to reverberate through the years. In the year of independence, fighting was fierce in the Negev desert area. Here, Israeli troops routed the Arabs and took hundreds of prisoners. Meanwhile, on May 14, 1948, the new government headed by David Ben-Gurion is installed in Tel Aviv. Thus, for the first time since the Roman legion destroyed Jerusalem in the year 70 AD, the Jewish people have a nation of their own. United Nations teams accompany Israeli soldiers under the white flag to retrieve the bodies of soldiers killed in the continuing strife with Arab troops. The UN was able to effect some uneasy pacts calling for a truce, but skirmishes continued to break out. Dr. Chaim Weizmann joined Premier Ben-Gurion in the government. The Jewish patriot became president as Israel went before the United Nations to seek a place in that world body. The Middle Eastern Arabic nations were in violent opposition, and when Israel was voted a membership, they walked out in a body. For the rest of the day, their seats remained empty, but they returned the next morning to no further incident. Thus, history was made as the Jewish state of Israel was born. Conceived in strife and weaned on violence, Israel has flourished to become a constructive voice in world affairs. Her flag became a symbol of hope.
Those people never lived in the land of Israel, and prior to 1948, they didn't either, and only moved there to destabilize the Middle East. They are Europeans. European Romans hiding themselves under Jewish. Rome has hid themselves under different nationalities. They are the same exact people. The same exact people that funded your transatlantic slave trade. The same Jewish man. Yes, indeed. The same Romans, the same exact people responsible for your 400 short span black curriculum. The same exact people that control all the media outlets and push rap music on the whole black community. The same exact people that are responsible for your Christian churches and all black communities. The Bible says, when the real Jews get into the land of Israel, there will be no more war. But since those converts have come into your land, it's only been war. See, they don't fit the prophecies because they worship Satan. I know thy works and tribulations and poverty, but thy are rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan, using the Babylonian Tamil as their authoritative source. These people are not the real Jews and are not the biblical Israelites. They are not the real Jews, but instead the children of Satan at the highest level. What are these nations trying to accomplish by suppressing all this information? What you are going to realize is that there's a group of nations that are confederate together trying to get rid of the Israelites from hundreds of years so that they can offset the Bible prophecies. Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, but be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, so that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. The elite know that America, according to the Bible, is the last kingdom before the return of the Messiah. The last reigning kingdom, called Babylon, the Great, or the Little Horn, and they are trying to offset Bible prophecies and prolong their rulership because they know that when Christ returns, he and the 144,000 elect are going to be in next ruling government on planet Earth. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. As a vessels of potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I received of my Father. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. The elite do not want this prophecy to go forth, and will do anything in their power to offset the prophecies and prolong their rulership, because they know that once the Israelites are in rulership and authority, that all the nations that had a hand in enslaving the Israelites throughout history, they are all going to captivity. It will be their turn for servitude. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land, and the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids, and they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. Therefore all that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, every one of them shall go into captivity, and they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. The elite have got together with their top scholars, and they know these prophecies. They've studied the Bible continuously back and forth, and understand all the breakdowns and the prophecies. So in order to prevent these things, they have to suppress this knowledge in order to rewrite history and flood the media outlets with all these futile materials to keep your mind distracted with entertainment, to divert your mind from anything that's with significance. And the success rate to the so-called blacks and Hispanics is very high. The black man won't pick up a book if his life depended on it. The book is kryptonite to the so-called black man. But despite their efforts to offset prophecies, there's Israelites waking up all over the world by the thousands, coming out of their deep slumber, getting rid of their Gentile gods and coming back to the Most High. For the children of Israel shall abide many days without a king, and without a prince, and without a sacrifice, and without an image, and without an ephod, and without a teraphim. Afterward shall the children of Israel return and seek the Lord their God, and David their king, and shall fear the Lord and his goodness in the latter days. The kingdom of heaven, rulership, the governing body, is being set up right now in the midst of everyone, and nobody has an idea. While the daughter of Babylon, also known as America, is on the economical decline, God is raising up the ruling government of the kingdom of heaven. He says, even though that the children of Israel are numbered like the sand of the sea, only a small remnant are going to be saved from his wrath. Isaiah also crieth concerning Israel, that the number of the children of Israel be as the sand of the sea, a remnant shall be saved. Because the majority of the Israelites have hearkened too much to the wages of sin, and the wages of sin is death. But the Most High says there will be no more slavery for you, no more. If you didn't learn from all the captivities you've been under, if you haven't learned from all the times you've had your backs whipped, if you haven't learned from all the times you've been hung on trees like animals, if you didn't learn from when the cops kill you, if you didn't learn from being put in prison houses given overly long sentences, he's told you that he isn't going to bring you into another captivity or slavery. He's got another punishment coming, the lake of fire. But the fearful and unbelieving and the abominable and the murderers and whoremongers and sorcerers and adulterers and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. But to those who have an ear to come back and return to the Heavenly Father, he is going to make a new covenant with you. For finding fault with them, he said, Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah. The Bible says that the new covenant is with the Israelites, not the Ishmaelites, not the Edomites, not the Moabs, not the Hamites, not with any other nations of people, but only with the Israelites, his chosen people. He made the first covenant with you, and the next will be with you as well. Not according to the covenant I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith the Lord. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days. What does the Most High mean by after those days? He's talking about after the wilderness. You have to go into another wilderness again. The same way you came out of Egypt and you went out into the wilderness, which was Africa, and made the first covenant, is the exact way you'll make another covenant when you come out of your captivity in America, which is the modern day Egypt. And I will bring you out from the people and will gather you out of the countries wherein ye are scattered, with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out. And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face, like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt, so will I plead with you, saith the Lord. And I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant. The covenant is going to be made after Christ returns. That's the new covenant. I will put my laws in their mind and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them a God, and they shall be to me a people. The Most High says that he is going to put his laws in your mind. His laws in your mind. The laws put in the Bible, those will be the exact laws put into your mind to govern the kingdom of heaven on earth. Yet the number of the children of Israel should be of the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, Ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, Ye are the sons of the living God. In the same exact places where you were scattered for a reproach, and called by different names and told in churches that you are Gentiles, even though all the other nations are Gentiles and you are not. In the same exact places is where you are now being told that you are the children of Israel. See, prophecy is being fulfilled right now. It's up to you now to make a choice. Either you are going to come back and keep your end of the bargain, or still stay out in the world. And if you decide to still stay out in the world, the only thing you can look forward to is weeping and gnashing of teeth. Most High is extending his hand to you one last time. Either repent and come back or die in your sins. So to my brothers and sisters serving other gods of other nations, leave. Leave and come back to your true heritage, because you are a Hebrew Israelite, the children of the Most High God. He showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and judgments unto Israel. He have not dealt so with any nation, and as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord. This is the hidden truth, but the truth is coming to light, and the truth will set you free. Because now, you know who you are. Kwame Asharala.
Brothers! What we do in life echoes in eternity.